Good evening, everyone, and good morning to our esteemed panelists joining from US. With much pride and elation, I welcome you all to IIM Mumbai Prerana International Business Conclave under the banner of Avartan 2023. This event is one of a kind panel discussion, a platform where accomplished individuals and esteemed industry experts share their priceless insights concerning the dynamic landscape of global business realm. IIM Mumbai, formerly NITI, established in 1963 by the Government of India, marks 6 decades of excellence this year. Celebrating its Diamond Jubilee, IIM Mumbai is currently ranked as the 7th best B school across the nation as per the NIRF rankings 2023. Since its foundation, IIM Mumbai has delivered solutions to complex problems faced by businesses and has carved out a niche for itself as one of the country's finest B schools with several specialized programs. We are fortunate to have amongst us today a panel with both depth and breadth of knowledge that are conversant with new progression in the field. We have with us Mr. Murugan Pugalenthi, sir. He is Director, Global Procurement Data Science Analytics at Johnson & Johnson. He possesses extensive experience in pharma, FMCG manufacturing, and high-tech sectors. He is a gold medalist from NITI, now IIM Mumbai, in operations and supply chain domain. Thank you for joining us, sir. Next, we have with us Mr. Brijesh Shirodkar, sir. He is Senior Director and Practice Lead-CDP at Salesforce. He is an accomplished data analytics and martech leader with a distinguished track record. A proud alumnus of IIM Mumbai, he has collaborated with leading Fortune 500 companies to develop and deliver cutting-edge products. We are glad to host you, sir. Next, we have with us Mr. Deepak Gupta, sir, Head of Supply Chain, Sourcing, R&D and Operations at Glanbia Performance Nutrition. He is a seasoned professional in procurement and supply chain with extensive hands-on expertise spanning with full spectrum of end-to-end supply chain functions. With over 2 decades of experience, he has excelled both as a consultant and a hands-on practitioner. It's a privilege to host you today, sir. Today, we also have with us Professor Binil Kumar, sir. He is an associate professor in the domain of finance, economics, and strategy. He holds a PhD in economics from IIT Bombay, and his teaching interests are managerial economics, macroeconomics, industrial economics, and industrial organization. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. I would now kindly request you to take the session forward from here.
Thank you, Abhijit. My respected director, Professor Manoj Kumar Timari, our esteemed guest, Mr. Murugan Pugalenthi, Mr. Brijesh Shirodkar, Mr. Deepak Gupta, our distinguished deans, faculty colleagues, dear students and staff. Very warm welcome to IIM Mumbai Prerana Business Meet. As it is an event which is under the Avartan. Avartan is an umbrella of different kinds of event which comprised of both academic and non-academic activities, which comprised of means so many talks of business leaders, cultural activities, and accomplished leaders in different sectors as well. So they share their insights in these 10 days of events here. We are honored to have here with us very distinguished leaders. They are Mr. Murugan Pugalenthi, who is the Global Procurement Director, Data Science Analytics, Johnson & Johnson. Mr. Deepak Gupta, Head Supply Chain, Sourcing, R&D and Operations about Glanbia Performance Nutrition, which is also known as GPN. And Mr. Brijesh Shirodkar, Senior Director, Salesforce. IIM Mumbai always provided this nation with the business leaders. Now we are talking about international community with the business leaders here. Murugan, Deepak and Brijesh are actually leading different companies from the different sectors and they're leaders in the global scale. So this is something which you are very proud of. And this is an opportunity to listen to them back to understand what exactly the recent development in the case of it. Mr. Murugan currently serves as a Director of Global Procurement, who is also dealing with the data science, analytics, and digital DJ Johnson & Johnson, supporting almost different sectors, because he has got wide kind of experience, not only in the case of J&J, that is FMCG you are saying, he also has got different kinds of roles in other sectors as well. So in the case of Mr. Deepak, who is also is kind of a proud moment for me here, because he is also one kind of person who has developed one of the programs which is under Avartan, which is also known as lecture. But yeah, here he is with an event which is hosted by Prerana Business Management Group. But he's a head of supply chain, sourcing, R&D operation, multiple countries, who has got experience in multiple countries like China, Middle East, Turkey, Africa, and many such kind of countries. And his experience is really diverse, covering procurement portfolio, different categories, logistic. And in the case of Brijesh, he has also played pivotal roles in the case of building, executing strategy for data cloud and customer data platform, overseeing different annual portfolios, fostering different kinds of technological relationship within the organization. And say all three people have got a common string to connect each other. They are leaders in technology. They have brought technology to the business to take the business to the next level, and who actually became the most appropriate persons to talk about our theme today, that is fostering global growth, enabling tech business synergy. So this is the right thing which actually connect them, and we are really happy to host them in this particular platform. On behalf of the entire IIM fraternity, I would like to express our deep gratitude to share their time with us, to share their insights as well as their experience with us in this particular thing. So let me call Mr. Murugan to start the talk, to share his experience. Then we will go with others as well, before starting some kind of a question answer or some kind of the queries to extend further whatever their experience which they have shared. I invite Mr. Murugan to start the discussion.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Professor, and thanks to the entire IIM Mumbai fraternity to invite me and the team for this wonderful session. And it's always pleasure to come back to IIM Mumbai. I think we should get used to say this word IIM Mumbai, right? So that's an interesting thing. And obviously, this is a very timely topic between the business and the digital world. My experience, especially, being the gap is sort of narrowing very faster, in a very faster pace as we speak, right? With all the sort of an emergence of technology, the way it is bringing goodness to the business and so on and so forth. I think the current and the future is always, it looks like it is of the world like where everyone in the business needs to be digital native, and everyone needs to think digital first in their way of operation. That's how all the businesses are moving, irrespective of the sector, irrespective of the companies, or irrespective of the industry, what we are into it. Everywhere, this is what is happening. And it is really sort of transforming or disrupting the way the businesses have been operating worldwide, especially even given the context of supply chain. The supply chains, as we all know, it's becoming global in nature, and it has a lot of connections between the elements which is happening across the world, and so on and so forth. But digital is making possible to run any supply chain currently. That's what we have been experiencing, especially given this gap between the business and digital is narrowing down very faster and significantly. That's been my experience, especially. And the second element is on the complexity within the supply chain or in the business is growing exponentially. And the expectation from the stakeholder is also growing exponentially. How are we going to manage these both the priorities? Digital is one big levers in this overall system to really ensure that we fulfill our requirements as well as fulfilling our requirements, managing the complexity, and delivering the stakeholder value. That's something what digital is playing a very, very stronger role, and we can share some of the examples as we go through the session. But that's what we have been using the digital to reduce or solve the complexity as well as delivering the value to the business. So that's something what we can see in front of our eyes as we speak. The third one, obviously, as overall, if you look at even the industry, the way digital is kind of getting plugged into the overall ecosystem is interesting to look at it. Right. In the past, you used to have a digital office and data science officer, central capabilities, and so on and so forth. Now, it is expected that every leader, like whether it's a chief supply chain officer, chief procurement officer, chief commercial officer, chief HR officer, everyone is supposed to be the digital native, and they're supposed to be their own chief digital officer. Right? There's no there is the world of having those unique the specialized capabilities or specialized leaders to drive this transformation are over from the industry point of view. It is the expectation is every leader supposed to be leading their own digital transformation. That's where that's what I want to start the conversation with. Looking forward for a great conversation, Professor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Murugan. It is really interesting when you are looking at the industrialization starting with the 1800s and the 18th century, and it took literally almost more than a century to have the next industrial revolution, which happened in the 19th century and the beginning of, say, the 20th century. Then the third industrial revolution brought some kind of a digitization technology. The computers came into the picture of the manufacturing. And then the sudden change with the Industry 4.0 or the fourth revolution of industrial development, which has brought quite a lot of an umbrella or plethora of technologies. And where digital transformation was the leading thing. And the next one was the data, big data, and AI transformation. So in this background, so as an extending date, I think the right person to start or talk here is Mr. Deepak. I hope he's available to talk about what exactly the kind of technology which is going to come about. So Deepak, please share your insight to the topic on this particular thing.
Hi, everyone. So basically, I think over a period of time, pure supply chain related challenges have remained the same. What has really changed is about the speed at which we have responded to them and how the technology has played its part over a period of time on improving that speed in responding to the signal. So at some point of time, when just the computers came in, I think the world would have changed. At that next, when the internet came in, suddenly the speed of response, speed of getting the data, speed of collecting the information changed. The mobiles came in and you could get the orders online or from the shop and directly transmit it all the way back signals into the supply chain. The speed and the agility improved. And now you have the next generation tools or next generation IT tools, which will be more around AI or machine learning and everything, which will allow you to kind of analyze, predict, and forecast better. But pure base core of the supply chain and its challenges remain the same. It's now about the speed at which different tools have now enabled something that was done probably on a month basis can now be done in a day. And probably in tomorrow, it will be just about live. So, and that's basically the crux of how the change has come about.
Thank you, Deepak. It is again a pleasure to see that how you are trying to connect the technology in this. But what exactly happened with the 9 pillars of the Industry 4.0, or when we are actually trying to embrace Industry 5.0, where the robots will become cobots, we are basically looking at a collaborative robots. So, and we are talking about generative AI. Now we are not talking about only AI. So we are talking about big data and generative AI, how it is going to transform the industry in industry 5.0. So Brijesh will be the right person to start on that particular thing, how the coming technology or the technology of the future, how it is going to change or to take the digital transformation to the next level. Brijesh, please have your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, sir. And again, definitely want to thank everyone involved in setting up this platform to have me over. I'm definitely thrilled to be here. I'll start off with a safe harbor statement. Any opinion that I express is my own personal opinion. It's not an opinion directly attributed to organizations that I'm affiliated to. So with that out of the way, I'll address sir's questions here, right? With trying to look back, where we have come from, right? Like today, it is possible that I could be sitting in a resort in Goa at a bar and launch $100 million campaign globally, right? Like while just sitting at the beach. This is talking about how dramatically technology has changed business expansion. Right? Until a few years back, launching anything globally, just as simple as a product or a campaign, right, took countless meetings in conference rooms around the world. Today, that's changed to just having a few clicks, and you can activate your campaigns, customers, products, pretty much globally everywhere. So just look at where you've come, but I think all of us do get a feeling that, hey, we are just getting started. It doesn't feel like, we are maturing, right? And the curve is definitely looking like in future, it's going to get more steeper. So generative AI is definitely on top of everyone's mind, specifically because the large language models have democratized access to data. To insights in a way that can be used faster. So I think pretty much all the organizations that are now thinking about generative AI, especially because it's been around, I think, not even for 6 months now in the mainstream parlance, right? So part of it is most organizations are figuring out what use cases they can have to drive their business forward. I think the general feeling is we are still figuring out how this will transform. I think sir used the right phrase, right? Like you're going to move from industrialization 4.0 to 5.0. So that's going to be a drastic change in terms of the way we do business, right? We're going to start thinking of scenarios that until that we're probably not even thinking about how we do some of the things today. So I am like many others, I'm waiting with bated breath to see how generative AI moves forward. But there are some foundational technology components, that we will still have to focus on in the coming days to drive this kind of global footprint for where technology is enabling businesses to expand globally. I think some of the key ones that you'll see definitely are cloud computing. So your large cloud companies like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, they are today letting you run a business from pretty much anywhere in the world, launch a business to any consumer across the world, and then of course the sourcing part that's there. So you'll see through this conversation, I'll touch upon some of the other areas as well, right? So technology is one component. The other two components of making this successful are processes and people. And you can see around in all these three areas of technology, process, and people, there is a scaling up of knowledge, tools, and technologies that are there. I think the panel mentioned about how all roles have to be digitally native. And then that's part of that. That's what we see there. Like in summary, I think pretty exciting times that we live in, and it just feels like we are just getting started.
Thank you, Brijesh. It's a time of ChatGPT and metaverse, so we are basically trying to have mostly the kind of immersive experience in all kinds of our life, which includes the business expansion, or the business is trying to say evolve more or to create more strategies to embrace this kind of the technological advancement. As we are also looking forward how Brijesh is bringing more insights into the discussion. Let me come back to Mr. Murugan, who has talked about the importance of the digital transformation, and many industries in almost all the sectors have embraced this digital transformation at different levels of their value chain, as he has mentioned about how the digital transformation is basically trying to help them to rectify or to simplify the complexities which involve the different value chain. So, being a person whose experience literally spread over multiple sectors, functional consolidation of digital technologies definitely. What is your opinion, Mr. Murugan, about the most important opportunities as well as the challenges that an organization will face or should consider while implementing these digital technologies? Because in the industry 4.0, digital twins are is one of the technological poles which need to be embraced. How you look at this in the across their supply chain, or how it can be leveraged to deliver the profitable growth or the sustainable growth in the future? So,
Sure. Sure, Professor, for a very loaded question, right? Let me start justifying more simply saying that what is digital, right? Let me start with a little bit of breakdown of what is digital from an industry perspective, right? If from my perspective, it consists of 4 elements. Let me start with that. One is the foundational systems, right? The foundational systems, the transactional systems, the planning system, the warehouse management system, whatever it is, right? All the foundational system is the starting element of digital, followed by visibility, right? And how are we creating the visibility around the performance, the business activities, etc.? That's a visibility is the second element of digital. The third one is automation, where we are into the world of hyper automation, right? Bringing in automation is a part of digital framework. The last but not the least around the analytics and data science. So how are we going to use the data? How are we going to unlock the value of using the data and solve the business problem is through using the analytics and data science is the fourth element of digital. So from my humble opinion, there is nothing beyond this you can call it as digital, right? So whatever we are calling this as digital should fall in one or other of this category, right? So that's number one. I want to just set this basic definition, and obviously, what is the opportunity to answer your question, right? How do we look at then from an opportunity perspective? I always see first thing we need to consider into the overall equation is what is the maturity of the organization. From a digital is a very important point, because for some organization, Excel is a big digital transformation, versus in some organization, Gen AI is a very basic digital transformation, right? So the maturity of the organization from a digital is a very important element when you do those discussions. And I would say in supply chain, especially the second point, in supply chain, the bigger value unlock or opportunity for digital comes in from the trade-off decision making, right? And all the supply chain in my simple mind, supply chain is required, supply chain function is required, our supply chain professionals are required because there's a trade-off needs to be made between cost, cash, and service level. Simple, right? So all your investments on digital or anything should revolve around these areas. That's a big opportunity. What we say, this becomes very important in a world where we are going to a super specialization in terms of plan, make, source, deliver, quality, automation, engineering. In companies, trust me, there are 8 quality functions. I know a company. There are 8 quality functions. You have a manufacturing quality, you have an external manufacturing quality, you have a source quality, you have a deliver quality, you have a transportation quality. So quality, I'm talking about, there are 8 quality functions worldwide. So now, how are we going to connect these things and then make the trade-off decision is where technology and digital is playing a very, very bigger role as an opportunity. That's number one for me. And the second thing, obviously, if you look at it, what are all the ways in which the digital could help us in driving the value creation, to your point, the profitable growth? We can attribute this into 4 different buckets, right? And digital typically, unlike, think of a world where I'm investing in a machinery to produce shampoo. So I'm just taking an example. You would be able to make an easy business case because it's going to increase your sales and it's going to bring in a new capability and so on and so forth. Versus digital is always been a bigger, and that's a part of a challenge as well, right? So if you look at it more from an opportunity perspective, there are 4 areas I see digital has been playing a bigger role. One is reducing the cost of overall operation, improving your cash position. Definitely, that's the second area. A third one we call as cost avoidance. Like in the case of automation and analytics, there are a lot of cost avoidance opportunities which comes into picture. Last but not the least is around how are we enabling the growth, right? Those are the 4 bigger opportunities. If you ask me, in an organization, it's really, really very critical opportunities. And very and your priorities of supply chain or your priority of the business are different. I think Deepak mentioned those are all fairly common, but yeah, they are common. But where you want to invest more time and effort is varies company to company, right? Some company may say that I want to invest on product freshness. Some company want to say that I want to improve my service level. Some company would say that I want to increase my return on capital deployed, right? The ROI or ROC, etc. Right? So that's another. As a digital professionals, we need to look at what is the company's big ticket item. What are they trying to improvise? That's an opportunity we need to go behind. Those are all the things around the opportunities. About the challenges, it's a very, very interesting area to talk about the challenges. I would put up a very kind of a provocative statement here. I'm a very strong believer of design thinking, right? Design thinking teaches us only one thing, that you need to fall in love with the problem, not with the solution, right? And I lead the data science analytics, but I'm not going to talk about GenAI here because GenAI is a solution, right? We need to fall in love with the problem, what we are trying to solve, right? And the solution follows that, right? Many companies or many digital teams are struggling because they put the solution above the problem statement. Business doesn't like that. Let me put it that way, right? So be always go behind the problem, and technology should follow that. That's number one. Number two, very important thing in all this digital work, etc. I think we undermine that requirement is having a good data and good ecosystem, right? Many of the firms or organizations are struggling. You can't build a multi-tower infrastructure on a weak foundation. It's not going to stand, right? People are forgetting that, right? The good data, good ecosystem is a very big challenge to get into any digital transformation or digital exercise. The third thing is, like I said, ROI, return on investment establishment, is a very, 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 very tricky one. Like I said, it's always easy to prove to an organization management that I'm going to put up new manufacturing line, which is going to produce X million volume of pieces, which will increase your sales by XYZ crores, right? Which is easy to make, versus if we are going to use a technology to create more visibility to a supply chain. So how are you going to quantify? How are you going to stand behind those proofs, right? That's establishing an ROI is the big challenge. The fourth one and the last one, from a challenge perspective, is the culture of the organization of accepting and using those technology solutions. Adoption is a very important one, Professor. From my experience, you can build a great solutions, and if end of the day, if no one is going to use it, right, and the organization and the stakeholders are going to lose the confidence in digital investments. This is a big pain point what we are going through. Just to summarize, from a challenge perspective, I feel design thinking, go behind the problem statement, having a great data foundation and an ecosystem, establishing a good return on investment cases. The fourth one is having a great culture to drive the adoption, which builds the confidence on digital investments. Those were the four things I want to put it on table.
I think broadly, thanks, Murugan. I think I would probably like to add, you kind of covered the whole gamut of digital transformation. And from a user industry perspective, probably 2 or 3 things that I would want to add is that you can't put digital transformation first. You have to put organization transformation first, or a business transformation first. So maybe I have one slide that I can probably share for everybody to kind of also have a look. That ultimately, objective of any digital transformation has to be linked to what is the real business need, or what is the business goal, and is it really, as you said, fall in love with the real problem. Very often it happens that we see some solution in the market and we would kind of get excited. Okay, Chat GPT has come. Can I use it in this? Or AI has come in. Can I use it in my solution? And can I? And a lot of times it's just to be able to show that you are ahead of the curve. You kind of try to fit in the solution to the problem. Hence, important is to really keep the structured business transformation ahead of everything. And digital transformation then is actually really the enabler to that. And maybe it's once you know the problem, digital could be the solution, but the solution could actually lie in people. The solution could actually lie in changing the process. And finally, digital could actually enable and really get wired at operational levels. So whatever is the final solution and the technology we adopt has to really meet the real goals of the organization and get embedded in at an operational level. However, some of the critical success factors there kind of get it is that linkage to business operations that you talked about. And then once you know it, how is it forming a part of our overall vision and the digital strategy? So your solution and your approach on digital can't be completely different to what the digital strategy is. At the end of it, again, either the IT or the supply chain departments cannot really do it on its own. It has to be sponsored by the entire leadership. The vision has to be bought in. And finally, the right technology fit has to come in. At the end, where the AI comes in is really about, the statement has been said over and above, that data is the new oils. But the challenge happens is actually getting a good quality data. Companies do generate a lot of data, but is it still that garbage in, garbage out? Or whether it is AI or earlier Excel or any other tools, as long as you are not putting in the right data and the data is coming in from the right source and exactly in format or exactly in terms of addressing the problem in hand, you will not really be able to make use of it, whatever technology you use. And lastly, if you have got all of that right, then it is about using that AI for advanced analytics, generative AI or other tools to really solve the issue that you have in hand, or really get yourself ahead from the competition in terms of digital journey and digital transformation. But the basics, again, I would say, is about treating it as an organization problem, coming there from structured organization issue to what is the real solution around it, having that momentum across the organization, and then getting your data sources right to really use the advanced analytics and AI to take you to the next level.
Well said, Deepak. One final thing, so I want to quote Tata Steel. It is a published information that Tata Steel, everyone calls us digital transformation. To Deepak's point, Tata Steel calls us, I'm a strong believer of that. Digital is an enabler for business transformation. That's where I close my case.
Yeah.
Thank you, Murugan and Deepak, jointly answering, as Murugan has put it, as a loaded question. Actually became really loaded, but a simple way of explaining the transformation. As I also would like to keep the usage which is Murugan has put forward. Business transformation using digital technology, it's an enabler to transform the existing business to achieve a higher or above average profits. Like as in the business strategy, we normally teach our students about what exactly the importance of achieving cost leadership to have a profitable business. And we were talking about the technological progress how it is going to help. As Deepak has mentioned, it is to be involved in the whole process of the business, starting with the whole decision-making process. So I'd like to now invite Brijesh to look at how this, the era of metaverse and generative AI, how the entire marketing stream, how you are trying to look at the communication of the business to reach to the customer, or to take the interaction between customer and business, so that they will be able to develop the product which is actually the customer will be feeling that it's a customized for them. How we'll be able to use the kind of technology, as Deepak has spotted, we have got quite a lot of data. How we are going to use this data to make such kind of products which will give them a better immersive experience of using the product. So how Brijesh would like to look at this particular thing?
Hey, great question. Great question there, sir. Right. In fact, I think this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. It's pretty close to the work that in the area that I work in. Right. So, I think, and it's closely tied to data as well, which is what I specialize in. Right. So it all starts with data. I think Deepak's slide said data is the new oil. I think data has been that oil for a while, but it's with AI being the focus, and so is automation, right? Data is still driving those engines. So there is increasingly a lot of focus around having the data that can drive those experiences that you spoke about, right? So we sometimes term those as hyper personalized experiences, where what the messaging that you see from the brands that you interact with, right? It is one-to-one specifically for what you do. So today there are data technologies that are enabling having all the information about my interaction with brands and the ecosystem, all stitched together in real time, available for applications like segmentation, analytics, automation, and then to be driven to AI models. So to give an example, let's say I'm a customer of ICICI Bank. As from an ICICI's perspective, or any other leading bank's perspective, they should have a good information about my balance, my investment products, what I have browsed on their websites. Am I searching for NRI interest rates? That kind of information that should be tied together with the kind of transactions that I have done by physically visiting the branch, what I do on the mobile applications, the email communications that I get from them, which ones I open, which ones I click through, any social campaigns that they run, right? So these are, you can see that these are 6-7 different channels with which ICICI is interacting with someone like me. And I'm just taking ICICI as an example here, right? So all this information, I think until some years back, right, these used to be in different silos. It was kind of difficult to have all of this together in one single place, so that you could build a single view of who Brijesh is, what his interest is, how is he interacting with the branch, for the bank to then predict what is it that Brijesh is going to need next, right? So now that you actually have data technologies that are helping build this kind of foundation. For like the provider to do analysis of me, to compare, to build a cohort of people like me who are others, based on all these attributes, and in that sense, in that sense, have truly data-driven campaigns, marketing campaigns, or interaction campaigns. Now, with this comes the level of trust, and as we talk about generative AI, right, and do we start relying on AI, trying to address some of the concerns that comes with AI, right? I think there's increasingly a lot of focus in the industry to start building that level of trust and transparency. Companies are putting in effort to demonstrate to consumers what data it is that is being collected, how it is being processed, how it is being retained, and how their AI infrastructure is going to use that. There are concerns around how AI could have biases. So there are some, those are also being addressed. So a lot of work happening there to start building that layer of trust and transparency, so that AI automation, the outcome of those is generally ethical and accepted well in the society. So Sir spoke about metaverse and GI and generative AI as the two parts, right? So if you look at the I would say a functional architecture, right, of if we were to generate consumer experiences, where does metaverse and generative AI? They would typically be at the right side, with all your left side being data collection, data processing, data unification, and then the last layers are metaverse and generative AI, which sit on top of everything that you've done on the left hand side to take them to the organization. I think what we are going to see is there could be companies that are purely just based on metaverse and Gen AI, right? So it's a flip from some of the companies. Like, so I think the previous speaker mentioned about how businesses are become digitally transformative, right? But if you also notice, there are some companies, for example, Uber or companies like Zerodha in India, Robinhood, right, which are digitally native, right? That it's not like they started off having a non-digital component and then they moved to it. You will see that's those are the kind of companies that will evolve, that are just purely based out of metaverse or generative AI. There's going to be space for brick and mortar companies as well to start building those components, but you'll also see there are companies that are just purely based on that. That's my view of how these things will shape out specifically, and how brands and companies start delivering that personalized experiences to their consumers.
Okay, thank you. Also, Deepak, I'm coming to you. So that only because Brijesh has mentioned that the AI and the immersive experience or metaverse is one part of the story, and Deepak has mentioned the data is the new oil. So I'm trying to understand how this the data which we are getting, the huge data, which is we call it big data or whatever, but how we are trying to do this analytics in such a manner that the customers will be able to read. Particularly, say the GPM, so in the performance nutrition area, or how this products which will be coming in, we are sitting with a huge data, how they will be able to develop the product which is customized to the requirement of the people, because you are looking at the performance nutrition. So COVID-19 has created a new business of nutraceuticals, but here we are looking at much bigger, more customized requirement of the people. And you require quite a lot of data for the data analytics. How do you look at how businesses in this particular sphere use business analytics to like the gap between the requirement of the people and the products which is being provided?
Yeah. So is that a question about Deepak? Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I thought it was for you, Deepak.
It is for Deepak.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I think if I were to say that we have sorted this and we know that how to use that data and create the products for the niche consumers or niche markets, I think that would be an overstatement. Organizations and probably performance nutrition is still a smaller industry and a very niche industry in itself. So within that, finding the niches itself becomes a relatively smaller business case. But even the larger organizations, I don't think have reached to the level of maturity of understanding that how to kind of lead that data to an analysis, to an understanding of a consumer, and to ultimately lead to a product distribution, product manufacturing as per that. But I think what we have been able to do is understand the patterns, and a lot of this data has started giving us an information in terms of how, say, a developed market customer versus a developing market consumer behaves differently, how their choices differ. For a very simple example, that a particular flavor works pretty well in one of the market doesn't necessarily mean that the same flavor will work in other market. Even in India, for example, now that we launched our own website to sell the product to the consumers, and now we have information about exactly the city and city level preferences of the people and the buyers, and we can actually see the patterns emerging within the country as well. There are the flavor choices which vary across different regions within the country itself. So now the real challenge lies in how do you kind of convert this information into a sizable business opportunity and convert it into a product that is really required by that market. That is something I would say a work in progress. A lot of work in our US business has been done around it. I think we have recently launched 3 flavors which have just come out of exactly those insights. Some of the technologies that we have also used in coming up with that is, one is understanding the consumer, but second is also increasing the speed of launch. So basically, building the entire analytics and the design process using the technology to kind of do what we probably earlier used to do in 2 years, to be able to do it in 6 months flat. So all of those changes is, I think, kind of enabling us to react to the market better, predict the market to an extent, and develop something which is the need of the market. So, but is that journey over, or are we very advanced in the journey? I think there's a long way to go yet.
Thank you, Deepak. This is something which is actually required in the industry 5.0. We are trying to bring the co-working of humans as well as the robots in such a manner that whatever the requirement of the people will be adjusted. Nowadays, you know that even automobiles are bringing some 12 or 13 or even 14 variants of a single vehicle. So this is the kind of thing which we basically try to understand what exactly the requirement of the people, how the products can be developed accordingly. So I'll go back to Murugan to understand. He talked about the complexities of supply chain. With this kind of requirement with the FMCG sector as well, how you try to look at the analytics business, so data analytics as a solution for addressing the complexities of supply chain?
Sure, Professor. I think I can talk about a bit on the procurement, right? Since I've been kind of spending a lot of time in the recent past around the procurement. One thing I would say in supply chain, though, since I spend time into the planning and deliver space, procurement is a very unique area where you have an access to huge amount of data. Very importantly, we have data which are structured and unstructured. And you would have a lot of internal and external data. I would say procurement is very close to a sales and marketing. You need to have data like the external data from suppliers and categories and what is there in the market and market dynamics. So plethora of external data. Look at the contract data and the risk data. Everything is unstructured in nature, right? So those are the very different sort of nuances of a procurement and sourcing, which is definitely gives us and the third one is definitely if you do any improvements and digital investments or data analytics investments, it is relatively easier to prove in procurement, right? Because procurement deals with dollars. So if you do anything, it is easy to connect, right? And when I did similar things in planning, everything goes back to inventory. And organizations are always been, I can quote one of my senior leaders said, the number of projects which have been done on investment, been done on the inventory. If you look at the business cases, I should run the business on negative inventory, right? Which is not the case, right? Because everyone anchor into inventory, which is very difficult one. Versus procurement, you could have a better dollar impact. So that's a sort of an area which is really a greater playground. And when you talk about, we have in procurement, we have taxonomies like sourcing, requisition to pay, negotiation, and you have things like contracting. So all this taxonomy, if you look at it, they are rich in data, right? For an example, if you want to find a pump supplier for my bottles in Brazil, how do I find it, right? That's why we need the data. We need to find a solution to bring up these nuances, right? That's one example. Contract. When you're building a contract or a master sales agreement, there are 200 plus pages, right? Who's reading it? Now that's where Gen AI comes into picture. I could very confidently say in supply chain, the areas like Gen AI and large language model, which we are applying currently in procurement, because this is one area in contracting, in supplier discovery, or in terms of even understanding the negotiation levers. When you're negotiating with your suppliers, what are the levers, right? I think these technologies and data analytics, the question is around data analysis, right? So this is a very big gold mine opportunity to really use the data, to bring it to one place, to understand what is the real value or the real challenge, and how are we going to address it. So things like whether you are using Gen AI or natural language processing, machine learning, or cognitive automation, whatever it is, right? It is a very powerful data science analytics solution to unlock the value. I'll tell you a simple use case, right? Which everyone can connect it, right? So and procurement sourcing is very complex because you have external parties you need to deal with, right? For an example, even I can talk about my organization. We spend around $35 billion with our suppliers. So $35 billion is like more than revenue, is a bigger revenue than many of the Fortune 500 companies, right? And we work with more than 100,000 suppliers. And this 100,000 suppliers, they have their own suppliers, and they will have their own suppliers. So it is a huge universe at which we have a very less control, right? So this is the context. Now something goes wrong in Israel last week and 2 weeks back, right? And then it was so sad, and we have all been shocked with these attacks which are happening. So come Monday, right? We want to look at what is the impact to our customers, to our patients, to our healthcare system. So data science and analytics is the way to get this information in few days, right? One can do this manually, and we have done this manually few years back, right? And it takes anywhere between 2 to 3 months to understand what is the impact, what product gets into it, what is my exposure, what inventory I hold, do I have an alternate supplier, do I have an alternate material? It takes 3 to 4 months. Can you imagine? By then, the crisis would have been gone, right? And I'm taking one example of Israel conflict, but now the world is becoming more volatile, right? Very, very volatile. And we are seeing things happening everywhere, things on natural disruptions, the cyber attacks, reputational concerns, human rights violations. You are seeing things around the geopolitical tensions, right? So it's like every day, some of my leaders are saying it used to be a once in a month issue. Now it's becoming 3 or 4 things in a day, right? So how are you going to get, what is the impact to my supply chain and what is my impact to my customers? I think data science analytics is a big savior. It can connect the dots, right? It can look at, okay, this is my supplier and where they are buying the material and who is the feedstock provider. 3-4 level down I can go, and then I can connect to my bill of material, right? Where they are providing the component, what is the finished good, and what is the inventory I hold, how long I can survive, right? How long I can survive without any further supplies. Things like time to survive is a metric what we follow, and time to recover, right? How long this will take to recover from this crisis or from this trouble, right? What is the time to recover? So we have a fantastic visibility. We have a click of a button. Now we can look at any disruptions, any challenges, saying that what is my exposure to my business. That's one example of the power of data science, what we brought to table in the recent past. So that's the classic example, one example of data science analytics, how we can bring into life. And obviously the challenges, again, sorry to reiterate it, this is like, think of like a restaurant, and all these greater stories are like your dining area. You will have a great ambience and great environment, but the data is your kitchen, right? If you don't have the kitchen ready, right? If you don't have the good process and reliable kitchen and a consistent kitchen, you are not going to be successful in serving your visitors, right? So please ensure that that's going to be setting up the complete data science analytics for a success. So that's where I want to say that data science analytics, the power of data analytics is a very, very important pillar for any business transformation.
Thank you, Murugan. So it's a time when the businesses are facing black swans almost every day. That is the kind of uncertainty which is becoming a regular affair for most of the businesses. Just in case is getting replaced, just in time getting replaced with the just in case, and the offshoring is getting replaced with the front shoring, or the all such kind of changes are happening in the case of businesses. That's really interesting. Another thing which you have talked about, the cyber security, all those things. In the case of data, again, I'll invite Brijesh here to throw some light and also to share everybody this particular thought, which is also helpful for our students about what exactly they should be looking at from the point of view of their career in this particular sector as well. About what exactly the kind of policy which is happening these days all over the world regarding data, the privacy and the protection, all such kind of thing. And people are making more stringent norms like SAML and the different kinds of protection thing. What do you think, Brijesh, the kind of actions which need to be taken by the industries to protect the data, at the same time using the benefit of data analytics? And what will be the future of this kind of thing, and how our students should upskill themselves to find a career in this particular sector as well? I'll start with Brijesh, and then others also please share it.
Yeah, I think so. That's a pretty relevant topic right now. Right? One of the areas that's happening specifically in the areas of privacy is that the third-party cookies are going away. So if you remember, a few years back, let's say I go to an airline's website, and if I search for a Bombay Delhi flight ticket, right, for the next 3 to 4 weeks, wherever I go, let's say that I go to a CNN website or a Times of India website, right, I will continue to see that banner for that particular flight, right? So, so that is going away. So companies like Google and Apple who play in this space, right, they are taking away, they're trying to take that away because that's being seen by different regulatory bodies as an infringement on the privacy. So the concept of third-party cookies is likely to go away, just over the next year or so. This has an adverse impact because specifically on the advertisement industry, advertisers and the advertising platforms, their entire model has been based on this kind of a tracking behavior. So now that it's going away, it's making people wonder how they will reach out to customers to advise. And then on the other side, on the advertising platform side, right, how can they continue to get business if this model goes away? So one of the areas that's been evolving in this space is first-party data. So where now if you go to websites, they will ask you to accept the cookies or give you much more information about what data they are collecting about you, how they will process, how they will retain. So all that information is available to you. So I mentioned that talking about the trust layer and specifically the transparency. So that's what this is coming about. So there are companies that manage this privacy that's available. Now, one of the other areas is it's okay to have all this privacy information collected, right? But it also has to be applicable to other systems that where your data is stored. It's not like someone else is sending you an email and their data has no connection to the privacy collection systems. So you will see that there are a lot of technology initiatives that are happening which are helping all this data to be together in a single place, or at least have the ability for to break down these particular silos. So companies like Snowflake or all the leading clouds, right? They have technologies that are helping what they call as zero copy integration, where data physically doesn't move from one database to the other. Right? I think Murugan was talking about this scenario where it takes 3 to 4 months just to get the data in place, right? Because it is difficult to bring the data that you need together in the time that you need. So there are definitely these initiatives that are happening on the technology side that are helping break down the silos. And then we spoke about the level of trust as well. From an AI perspective, there are definitely initiatives that are happening around dynamic grounding, toxicity detection, data masking, zero retention. So those are areas that are being explored as part of generative AI.
Thank you, Brijesh. Deepak, can you please share some thoughts on this, particularly in terms of the upskilling of our students as well, and how the digital transformation also help to achieve the sustainability in the business, in terms of the real sustainability, the climate change impact is affecting all the businesses. So how you look at from that aspect?
Okay, so I'll probably take the first part of people, or how our students should probably keep them abreast of this. I think there is no, again, technology that you can learn and be sure about that, okay, for my next career of 20 years, I have done it. I'll just show you one very interesting slide that I really, I think, gives you a gist of this in one go. And just some of these, are you able to see the screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, now.
Yes.
So for especially the new generation, which is here, because I think all of us have at least seen our life without these, but most of the students, can they even imagine their life without these, and the generation which is there? But you know what? None of this really existed 20 years ago, and it's not very long. It's just 20 years ago that we're talking about. None of these businesses actually existed. And so effectively, every business has gone through a lot of transformation. And so what fits today, what solution fits today, or what you learn today may not remain relevant for another 20 years. What is important is, as a student, is to remain a lifelong student and remain a lifelong. I think at one point of time, we used to call it, at least when we were students, we used to call it more relevant only for medical profession, that doctors need to really keep studying throughout their life, because they need to know what is the latest technology that they need to save the life of their patients with. But now pretty much in every space, it probably became more relevant later on with programmers saying that, okay, programmers need to keep learning the new language, otherwise the older language will go away and they will not know how to stay relevant. But now practically for every professional, and hence for every student, it's important to stay lifelong learner and keep themselves abreast of what is latest happening. It's not important to really be a master of each of these things, but it is very, very important to be aware of all those. And as and when a particular part of a particular problem strikes you, have that presence of mind, have that presence of knowledge, that what is the problem or what is the solution that I learned about, and probably I can apply it here. Especially those who are desirous of going into consulting. That's really, really the key of being a consultant. For first 6 years in my career, I was a consultant, and I worked in 12 different companies with 7 different industries. And starting your career as a consultant, as a fresher, can be really, really challenging, because you really don't know. You've just been a student and you suddenly are advising people who are in that company for last 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years. But what really helps you as you grow in your career is an ability to apply the solutions which you have applied maybe in a completely different scenario, or maybe in a completely different industry, but having that presence of mind to bring it and present it to the team in front of you. So the same applies for technology, being able to stay abreast of what is happening in the world, what are the latest technologies, and how they can contribute. And then as and when problem strikes in your working space, be able to bring that solution in perspective. You will always have enough and more depth learners or professionals of that particular area then to kind of get deeper into that problem and give you a solution, but you can't be a novice to that. You have to be really abreast of what is happening out there. I think, and that is something especially from, I would say, the expertise that IIM Mumbai or the NITI gives you is that vision or that understanding of entire business. It's not just about one particular part of the organization, but be able to stay ahead of across the organization. And that would be my advice to the students. There is no one solution. There is no one technology that you need to be aware yourself of, but being at least 10 to 20% in everything, and then build yourself as the problem hits you on deeper into each of those is what will be important.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak. Murugan, would like to share something as a closing?
Yeah, I think it's very inspiring to hear from Deepak, right? Just to add to Deepak's slide, the same time last year, if I would have talked about ChatGPT or a GenAI, people would have been looking at me like a fool, right? Because it was not it was not in existence. Can you imagine? We are talking about a technology, and which is like which was not existence in last year, right? So that talks about the pace of technology. And trust me, 5 years down the line, if you are going to talk about Gen AI, people maybe not be interested, right? That's the pace of technology. That's what we keep saying it. Only in the consulting world, people keep selling, okay, this is a blockchain technology, this is process mining. That's a different world. It's about selling. Versus if you want to live through it, I think you need to look at from a language of what Deepak was mentioning. One is definitely the industry is looking for people who can scope the problem, first of all, right? That's a very big challenge currently. Who can able to scope the problem, right? That's number one. Number two, I think Deepak mildly told about the SCOR model. SCOR model, SCOR model, right? Which I learned from NITI, right? Teaches us that don't put industry constraint, right? You learn from one industry or one function and apply to other area, right? That's where you really unlock the value, right? If you think from a pharma company, from a pharma lens, you may not be able to make a bigger change. Versus look at pharma industry from a fashion industry perspective, right? How the supply chain practices of a fashion industry is going to work in pharma. Because pharma has a new product launch time of 9 to 12 years. Fashion has 9 to 12 months, right? So that's a sort of a learning that you will get a greater learning. That's the second point. The third thing I will close it off with this third point, and I want to tell the story of my NITI first year story, right? Few people may be laughing, right? Of the world what we were in 18 years back, right? When a senior moves out of the course, right? One thing, and like Deepak has mentioned, that team, we were like a 30-40 students, right? So we typically go behind the seniors and asking for one thing, right, which you can't even imagine nowadays, right? We ask for all the books and the notes, right? It was not a non-digital world, so we always been chasing for the books and written notes, right? So this person who is my role model, another role model, and I was behind him to ask him for his material, and he told me, Murugan, in NITI, what is resource, right? What is resource? So I started thinking, okay, resource is what, library? I said no, materials, learning, and so on and so forth. He keeps saying no. Finally, he said, the resource here in NITI is time. Right. So the advice to the students here is utilize your time to get those skill sets which are it's not replaceable, right? Not going behind a Tableau or process mining, Celonis, etc., which would be replaceable over a point in time. Think of the values like problem solving, problem identification, problem solving. How do you sell the solutions to a big organization? Build those interrelationship skills, right? The leadership qualities in the given limited time, which is the resource in IIM Mumbai now, right? The brand may change, but the resource is not going to change, right? So I just want to leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Murugan. And we got a really good panel to talk about the right topic, which he talked about the fostering global growth by embracing the technology or bringing synergy between technology and business. You see how the synergy has brought by three people by bringing these thoughts. This is something really amazing. So whatever we have talked about, I'll borrow the thoughts which Murugan has told. When you start loving the problem, can you imagine a problem means a world without problems? What would be the state? The entire thinking process will die, because the problem solving has brought different innovations, different solutions, particularly the keys of technology which has brought it. And thank you very much for the panel, particularly the different kinds of thoughts, literally thought-provoking thoughts which has brought in. I hope the whole audience might have got a really nice time listening to all three of you. Thank you very much for sparing your time. Mr. Murugan, Mr. Deepak, and Brijesh, and I urge you or request you to spare some time to come and visit again, because many of you have visited multiple times here. Again, because every time you're bringing more and more thought-provoking thoughts, which will help our students to build their the skills, as you told, the irreplaceable skills, which is going to be the major skill set which is going to drive their growth. Thank you very much. I will hand over the things to Abhijit to take the function forward. Thank you very much, and it was really nice to be there to moderate the session.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for an enthralling session. It was a pleasure to listen and learn from your diverse experiences. I am sure that all the attendees echo the same feeling. I would also like to thank Professor Vinil Kumar sir to seamlessly moderating this session. On behalf of entire IIM Mumbai fraternity, I would like to thank all the panel members for spending their valuable time to address our students and faculty members. We hope that all of you continue to be associated with IIM and give us the chance to host you again in future. I would also like to thank our director, Professor Manoj K. Tiwari sir, and Student Dean Affairs, Professor Rauf Iqbal sir, for their continuous efforts to nurture an excellent learning environment at IIM Mumbai. I thank the faculty members and students who have joined virtually on YouTube and made it a fruitful event. This event was coordinated by Prerana Management Group, a student committee of IIM Mumbai under the banner of Avartan 2023. With the permission of panel members, I request the organizing committee and participating faculty members to switch on their camera, and we will pose for a group photograph. Thank you everyone for sparing your valuable time today. We will